Welcome to a special edition of the Pick Six NFL podcast. If you're finding us for the first time, please subscribe anywhere podcasts are found and on YouTube at youtube.com/pick6. I'm Lesley Visser of CBS, the first woman enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is about my 35th Super Bowl. And along the way, you make a lot of good friends. And today I'm going to be talking to one of my very, very favorites of all time. He is all together now, the only player, let me see if I get this right, to have won the Heisman Trophy, playing the glamour position at the glamour school, the NCAA title, the NFL Rookie of the Year, the NFL MVP, to win the Super Bowl and be the MVP of the Super Bowl. God, you must have been exhausted with Marcus Allen.
Lesley, you missed one thing, Lesley. You should have said family. We're family. You know that. Come on.
We are family. I do feel that of you. And Marcus, it's that time of year. Everyone talks about you, about the Super Bowl. Can you just one more time, what did he say? Run with the night and.
Yeah, and it was called Running with the Night, and just the way he said it was just amazing. And
so we would, well, let me ask you this. Tell me some of the strangest places that someone has ever yelled out, Bob Trey.
Well, I've actually had a guy, I wish I could find it now, I wish I was prepared. A guy made a t-shirt, and it was a great looking t-shirt too, and gave me one, and it had 17 Bob Trey with the zigzag run. I mean, all the way to the goal line. It was absolutely beautiful and stuff. So people have said 17 Bob Trey, but that was actually the best gift that I've ever received. I mean, it's kind of hard, to wear it in public and stuff. Obviously, it's like wearing a jersey, which I would never do. But I like this shirt though, so it's cool.
I actually have one of those shirts. It's got the where you cut back. It does. It goes. But would you just describe it? Obviously they called that play so often during the year, but just tell us about it again.
Well, it was a power play off the left side, and I'm supposed to run off the double team. I think it was an under defense on that side, so you sort of know what to expect. The ball's going to go outside unless the linebacker completely forces everything back in. But I was in a really sort of terrible relationship with the guard as he was pulling and I'm taking the handoff, and I actually got to the outside of him and I couldn't get back underneath. And then the safety was blitzing at the same time, so I saw him come up and I made a U-turn, and sort of the rest is sort of time travel, as I call it. I felt like I was running warp speed and everybody else was running in cement cleats. And so what was really cool was sort of the awareness that I had, everything. My awareness was so keen. I felt like I had eyes in the back of my head, on top of my head. Every single direction. I was just aware of everything that was going on in the stadium, and it was just cool. And when I got near the end zone around the 10-yard line, everything sort of got to normal speed and stuff. So that's how it happened.
Do you think that Neil Olkowitz hates this time of the year?
Well, the thing, what was really interesting in the world that I just described to you, where everything was so sort of metaphysical and stuff, but I could actually just, everything was in slow-mo again. I can really see sort of the desperation on his face as he was grasping for me. I can almost see every single detail of the anxiety that he had. When it's so hard to describe. I'm trying to the best I can, but I just was aware of every single thing that was going on in the stadium. Even when I crossed the goal line, I actually saw it was like the Redskins cheerleaders were crying. It was so they knew it was over. Everybody knew it was over after that point. So
you don't see very often that an entire team runs into the end zone after a play that isn't game winning or so decisive? I mean, why do you think that happened?
Well, I mean, I think obviously it was it was 74 yards, and I think it was done in a way that sort of maybe surprised and sort of galvanized everybody and excited everybody. And I remember, when I turned around and I think I dropped the ball. I'm not quite sure, but I stood there and I gave somebody a high five. But I remember, I think Mike Haynes came out. It was Lester Hayes. I think it was Clee Montgomery, Cliff Branch. I mean, all these guys started running up to me and stuff. And those are moments you never forget because as a team, you can be away from teammates for years, you know what I mean? But the Super Bowl is what bonds you, what sort of keeps you together and reminds you of the great things, the effort that we put forth, the energy and the all the practices and all the things that the hard work that came to fruition, those that one game and those one moments and stuff that we always remember. And it just felt good that my teammates just came out and just just it was just great, and celebrated with me. But it was great though. And even when I got to the sidelines, I remember Matt Millen a little later in the game, hit me on the shoulder and stuff and pointed to the scoreboard, and they said, it said Marcus Allen MVP of Super Bowl XVIII. So it was phenomenal.
You played with such crazies. You have to talk about the personalities on that team. I remember Matt, when Matt, he got hurt. And so, I had to stand outside the locker room and do the report. And I'm doing the report, and Matt Millen opened the locker room door, stuck his head out, and for all of America to hear, he said, "You get paid for that?"
Yeah, we had some funny guys, and speaking of the Super Bowl, the first, I think Wednesday, we may have had curfew on Wednesday, I may confuse the days and stuff, but we had 7 guys miss curfew, right? And so we feel like, oh, good, that's, we're right on par. The Raiders are, their attitudes aren't changing. They're not getting nervous. They're being themselves, right? But what happened during practice, we usually have a fight or two during practice, and we hadn't had one, And so Matt Millen staged one with with Mickey Marvin. I mean, it was so good. It drew blood, right? And the man says, "Well, how did it look? Did I do that well?" I mean, he started the fight because obviously, we usually have fights during practice, and we hadn't had one. And so maybe he was superstitious, and he got into a fight. It was so well acted. But again, it drew blood, and it was like afterwards, it's like, how did it go? Did I do well?
but how do you account? I guess the locker room is the great melting pot, but
Yes.
account for you had a Mormon in Christensen,
Yes,
had big ridiculous vocabulary, and then
yes.
you had Alzado, who ate fire for breakfast.
Yes. It was, what though? It was like we had like 53 different personalities that came together for a common cause, and that was the beauty of it. Yeah, a lot was unpredictable, crazy. Lester Hayes was funny, we had guys that were just Todd, obviously, he was a sesquippedalian, right? He talked over everybody. I mean, every word he used went over everybody's head, right? They didn't understand a word that Todd said. But the thing about Todd that was so great, and about the rest of the guys, though, they love football, right? And they really wanted to, sort of to make the best out of their opportunities. And Todd was one of those guys. And he could. I love Todd. We used to run out on the field together, not only during the Super Bowl, during warm-ups, but we did it at every game prior to that. He and I became great friends, and we lost him, and I was just heartbroken when that happened and stuff. But you have all these guys that are just different people, right? But football brings you together, it galvanizes you. It could be social, economic, different colors, whatever it may be. Football sports brings you together, and it just sort of, and despite all the other, the things that are, external things out there, this is like our focus. And right. And if we focus at the right time and give it the energy that it deserves, it'll be great. And it was great that Sunday.
Take me back to the Super Bowl. Was this such a different time in the NFL, or just because you guys were so crazy that didn't you rent a car to go to the game?
Well, yeah, I didn't. Well, matter of fact, I don't even know how I got the car, but yes, we had rental cars. Several players had rental cars. And this is my first Super Bowl. I don't know, right? Usually guys at that time, obviously that was a long time ago. We either caught the bus. There was an early bus that left, and then there was a late bus that left. And if you didn't want to catch either bus, you would catch a cab, right? So a lot of guys would, catch cabs usually and go and get there early. But we had a car, so I mean I didn't know. So I drove with Otis McKinney. He and I, we drive to the stadium, and we pull up to the parking attendant, and I said, "Ma'am, excuse me, where did the players park?" She says, "Well, do you have a parking pass?" And I said, "No." She says, "Well, you can't get in." And I go, "Wait, no, seriously, ma'am."
She must have missed the high
seriously. Yeah, I didn't do this right here, right? I didn't say, "Hey, do you recognize me?" No, I didn't do that. But what I said, "No, seriously, ma'am. No. I play with the Raiders. I'm number 32. I didn't say that, but I said, I listen here. I need to get into the." She says, "Listen, I don't care who you are, who you play for. If you don't have a parking pass, you can't get in." And so I just backed the car up. I pulled it against the curb, and Otis McKinney looked at me, and I looked at him, and it was just sort of mental telepathy. I grabbed my bag, he grabbed his bag, and we took off running to the locker room, and we left the car running right there. And to this day, I don't know what happened to it. So that is a true story. So I go into the locker room, and now it's like, guys, they're normal. Guys listen to music. Some guys have headphones on. Some guys are, back then they were smoking and stuff, right? And some guys were playing cards as usual. But, I was just sort of smiling the entire time. And
that
sort
is
of,
so, for young people who are watching this, now it's so militaristic, and this bus will leave at this time. And this the police. My favorite smoking story was, remember when the Lakers got Vlade Divac? And the first halftime, Magic had to say to him, "Vlade, in this country, we don't smoke at halftime."
Well, I wish Magic would have came in our locker room and told our guys that, because we had several when I first got there. So I was kind of shocked myself. But
you obviously ran gloriously with the ball. You caught the ball. You even had a touchdown pass to Christensen. How did you account for your own versatility?
Well, I've always wanted to be an every down player. And I think just the fact, Lesley, we can sort of, you have to reflect back and just say, listen here, I was blessed. I was born to two great parents, and I didn't ask for any of the qualities or talent that I got, but by the grace of God, I just happened to have all the things that were, necessary to be a great player. And I had this sort of the intestinal fortitude and really the desire. So I think playing quarterback certainly helped me out a lot, handling the ball every single day while I was in high school, throwing the ball, obviously catching it, and doing and understanding, and playing fullback too during my college year and professionally a little bit, just helped me become an overall player. And I always wanted to be an every down player, not a guy who was a specialty player, like who just would come in for third downs, or who would run the ball and have to go out during a passing situation. No, I wanted to play every single down. I wanted to play all the time. So, and they always said, the more that you can do, the better you are, So or the
Who
longer you
are
last.
who are guys in your time that they hit you, you knew you got hit, like Brett Favre, Warren Sapp, right? Or Michael Strahan, or, who were guys, maybe Duron Cherry, I don't even know, or Easley. Who are guys that you said, ouch?
Kenny Easley was a beast. And I think it was Kenny Easley who gave me a black eye.
What?
During the AFC Championship game. I think it was him. It may have been somebody else, but I know, listen here, I'm crazy, right? We were playing the Seahawks for the AFC Championship game, and we were down near the goal line, and I nodded. We were in a far left situation. I was lined up on the right side. Frank Hawkins, I think, was the fullback. And I think they handed it off to Frank. And I was the lead blocker. And prior to the snap, I saw Kenny, and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I nodded like towards him, like, here I come.
Like the backyard?
Yeah, and all I remember, I think I got a forearm between my between the face masks, right? And I walk out with, I was dazed, and I had a black eye, obviously, and so I went into the Super Bowl with a black eye. So very few people remember that. I mean, obviously it lessened as the game got closer, but I had a black eye, and Kenny was a beast. But I mean, other than that, I really did not get hit very hard. And I can actually credit that to Ronnie Lott and Dennis Smith. They used to beat me up so much at SC that I got better, and I was able to avoid hits, or rather big hits. And so, but Kenny was you mentioned him, he was a competitor. And he brought it every single time. He played with such conviction that, I always played with conviction myself, but he certainly, when a guy elevates his, you certainly have to elevate yours, because if you don't, he'll win every single time. And I wasn't never going to let that happen. So.
You mentioned Ronnie Lott, and I think a lot of people would be really surprised. Every senior in high school now has his position.
Yes.
And but weren't you not certain when you went to SC that you were going to be the tailback?
Oh, no. First of all, I went there as a defensive back, and I had this one picture, and it's a great photograph. It's me and the people that would be Dennis Smith and Ronnie, and there were several other DBs. I think Jeff Fisher was in there too. And there's me, number 33, right? So I'm taking a picture with the DBs. And then it was later when all the running backs got hurt, John Robinson asked me to come over and play running back. And I said, yes. And that's how it happened. But I still end up rooming with Ronnie, because I had a sort of a defensive mentality, and those were always the guys that I hung around with. So even though I was a running back, I ended up hanging out with all the defensive guys. So that's how. And then we roomed together in college and stuff. And Ronnie was he was the chef. He always made hamburger helper, or a variety of hamburger helpers and stuff. So that's how we got through college.
Was it? I don't know if it was you or Jim Brown. I should not. I should right. But one of you said there are only two kinds of running backs: those who know and those who don't.
Oh, I actually said that.
Well, what does that mean?
I've learned a lot from Jim, but that was actually my quote. Well, I'm just saying there's two types of players, is really what I said: those who know and those who don't. And the ones that know the most usually go the furthest and are more successful. And I'm just talking about being a complete student of the game, knowing everything about the game, even know what the defensive players are doing, even knowing what the offensive players are doing on every single situation. The guys usually are the smartest guys, or the ones that, last the longest. I'll give you a great example. I mean, Ted Hendricks, Ted slowed down tremendously when I got there, but he was so smart, right? And so he was always making plays, and you wonder how he made those plays. It was not just by, athleticism. It was by his brain. He anticipated, he knew what was coming. He would actually, when they bring in somebody who wasn't starting, he would actually tell the secondary guy what to do. he was so smart. I mean, that's what I mean. There are those who know and those who don't know. And the guys who know the most usually are more successful and go the furthest.
Oh, that's great. I remember once another thing you said was that you didn't just want to be a running back who carried the ball. You
Yeah.
also wanted to be someone who was in the end zone. And what does it take to have that mentality?
Well, I always thought that I was not paid to run. I was paid to get it to score. So I saw myself as a scorer, not just of course you run the ball, of course you catch passes and occasionally you throw the ball and stuff like that. But I thought the ultimate objective for me being on the offense was to get into the end zone. And so I just I made a habit of it rather. Even during warmups, I made sure that I would always cross the goal line. I would cross the goal line and get into that mentality that I would actually, stretch in the end zone, not in the field of play, but I would stretch in the end zone because that's where I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to be comfortable. This is my goal right here. So I had all these habits that led to that. You know what I mean? So it is. I always thought you measured by, not necessarily, the yards and, between the goal lines and stuff, but, do you get over the goal line and stuff? So I had 145 touchdowns. Actually, I should have had maybe 50 more, unfortunately, but that's the way, that's the way it was. But I always wanted to score.
Well, and what is it? You were known as being just so tough in short yardage. And like you said, no one ever saw Marcus Allen really get hit straight on. But tell me about at the goal line. Would you feel?
Lesley, again, to me, and I always tell people that it is knowledge. There's only two defenses. There's a 5-3 and a 6-2. All right. And every single situation, and maybe to help because I sort of played defense, when I was in high school and I was an aggressive defensive player. So I sort of knew what to look for and actually use people's aggression against them. Right. But I always knew the soft spots. I always knew where to run. Now, nothing's ever guaranteed. There's sometimes you have to turn nothing into something, right? Sometimes, things break down, but I always knew where to run. I always knew, against a 6'2", either this guy's going to pinch or he's going to go out and the linebacker's going to hit the hole. I mean, all those things, to anticipate. And then the offside linebacker, who's usually so aggressive, he usually, doesn't, maintain his responsibility. He comes over this lane, and if I hit the right relationship between the guard and the center, I can go through the back door. So all this stuff is just just knowledge and obviously having the experience of doing it over and over and over again. But in addition to that, being successful over and over again. So I was telling somebody the other day, just in regards to the Super Bowl, how comfortable I was is because I've actually been in that situation my whole life. Even from a Pop Warner level, I was always, either making a play when the game was on the line or having the ball in my hand when the game was on the line, right? Same thing in high school, right? Same thing in college. So when we got to the biggest stage, I've been there before in such a comfort level that nothing bothered me and stuff. So it was a blessing that I succeeded so much in those situations as a young person, and I built on that.
Well, I don't know. I think your hips were about 32 inches on top of that.
Well, they would say get skinny in the hole. And the funny thing is that we would watch film and guys would say, how did you do that? And the honest answer is, if somebody gave you an answer other than you don't know, they're full of it, right? They're just trying to sound smart and stuff like that. But the reality is, I don't know. I don't know how I did that, how I got skinny. I used to get through holes that were, just extremely small. And I know I was born the year of the rat, so maybe I can attribute it to that. So,
well, tell me me how you think the game has changed. I mean, you were a running back MVP of the league, and it was around the time Walter Payton was, Earl
Yeah.
Campbell was, after you, Emmitt Smith was, Thurman Thomas was. And, you don't really see running backs as the MVP anymore.
Well, they're throwing the ball a lot more. And the reality is obviously the guys who, that touch the ball, have a greater chance of winning that award, So receivers have a greater chance because they're getting so many receptions. When I think I first came in the league, man, the average maybe 20 times a game, maybe 20, maybe 25 max of throwing the ball. Now it's almost, they're averaging, you got to be 35, 40 times. So, but the demise of the running back, regardless of, how many times they throw it is that exaggerated. I mean, every team needs a running back to win. And so they can pretend like they don't need him, but at the end, they certainly do.
Why did you pick Kansas City? What did you think they had outside of the other big gun? Or was that the reason that you went?
Oh, okay. One of the reasons that I picked Kansas City was Marty Schottenheimer called me every day. But I didn't make the decision. Well, I mean, obviously, the pressure became greater once they signed Joe, right? And then they said, guess what? We're going from AstroTurf to grass. I was kind of like, oh, you're really making this hard on me, right? And then I said, let's go. Let's do it. They were putting the pieces together. And I knew from playing there, they had one of the greatest fan bases in the league and one of the great ownerships in the league. And they still do, just tremendous people there. And so I took a chance and on going there, and it was a decision that I don't regret. It was just a fantastic place. It's great to see them win now. I would have liked to have been the team that would have brought to the championship. We got close to Kansas City. We got close, and we lost to Buffalo there in that AFC Championship game after Joe got knocked out. But it was great. I remember. One of my greatest memories was actually that loss. Coming back, obviously everybody was disappointed because we had a great year. Again, we were in the game, then Joe got knocked out, and then obviously everything just fell apart. But I remember the flight home, and everybody was disappointed, and we landed. And, like all guys do, they just go straight to their cars after a disappointing loss. And I remember pulling out the airport, and as we were exiting, both sides of the road exiting the airport were filled with Chief fans. As we entered, into the freeway, and so it was a good maybe I don't know, like 10 football field lengths, you know what I mean? And so it was just people on both sides. And it's like, man, this is awesome. In defeat too, It's one thing when people show up when you win, but when you lose and they still show up and they cheer you on, that was a great thing. So,
what was that for you that, of course, I'm sure it took a long time to work it out, but you came off such success and you were so popular in Los Angeles, and then Al Davis, at least it seemed, he kind of benched you for 4 years.
well, listen here, I've discussed that. And I've always been really sort of open about just sort of, putting things behind you and living in the here and the now, really didn't quite understand it, but I didn't, dwell on it. I just said, hey, that happened. What do I do now? Let me try to make the best out of the situation now. And I remember Mark Davis asking me after Al had passed to light the torch for Al in Oakland, and I said, absolutely, I'll do it and stuff, because I don't like to live in a negative world. I like to be as positive as possible and stuff. And I had great years with him. Just because we didn't get along at times and it was a bumpy road does not mean that I didn't have wonderful memories with the Raiders and the players and administrative people there, and Mark Davis, who I love. So we always remain friends. It is something that happened. I wish it didn't happen, but it did. It was, I think unnecessary, whatever it was, but it's worked its way out now to, I think, a situation where, I feel great about the Raiders, going there, contributing, either talking to players or in any way possible that I can. So, it's great to be part of the organization. So.
Yeah, tell me about the team now that I think you told me you're working with Jacobs, or I mean, what do you see? Are they stuck? Are they moving forward? Where are they?
I think they're moving forward. I just think they have to continue to grow. The leadership it's so necessary. And I'm not talking about just from, from GM or president on down or whatever it may be, coach, whatever. I'm talking about players on the field. And I look back at the team that I was lucky enough to be a part of. I mean, we had coaches at almost at every position. I mean, we had guys that were veterans and knew what to do, and they were so well informed, and they knew how to motivate, but they took care of their own responsibility too, while getting guys to do theirs. And they were all smart. I mean, when you got a Mike Haynes, when you got a Howie Long, you got a Matt Millen. I mean, these are all really smart players and stuff. And we had sort of the same on offense. So I think, there just has to be a maturity there, and they need some leadership. They have a lot of young players defensively. We know they're going to be good offensively. They put points on the board, but defensively, they just have to grow up, and they have to sort of get some leaders on the field.
Yeah, didn't one of the players himself, the linebacker, Morrow, is that his name? He just said we are not accountable, that we have no accountability, and that we as players have to do a better job. And I would like to hear more in the league.
Players police players. I mean, we know. Coaches obviously stay in the office all night long, which I think is crazy, by the way, right? I'm really into sort of time management, but as teammates, we police our teammates. We know who's either, not doing what they're supposed to do, who's staying out late. We know that, right? And if you have real leaders on the team defensively, offensively, you make sure, right? It's not about the coaches. And that's one of the great things about Marty Schottenheimer was, I could say that was my team, right? If I didn't like the way things were going at practice, right, I can say, let's start all over. We're gonna get our butt kicked. Let's start all over. This is terrible. Marty would say, start all over. So I know that sound, but that's really important. And if you don't have those kind of people, right, then you're just sort of, you don't have the leadership that's necessary, or people who are gonna, call you out, not because they're trying to offend you, because they're trying to elevate you as a teammate and elevate the team too. I mean, most great leaders actually not only care about themselves, they're trying to make you as great as possible, so you can, reach your goal, right? So one of the things, that is challenging but great, and it tests your character is, I mean, every single year as a running back that played 16 years, I have to really teach guys who they draft number one to take my place, right?
Right.
So if you're a good person, you're going to do the right thing, and if you're not insecure about your own ability, you'll still do the right thing. And if you're a good teammate, because one of the things you never want to happen is like, you did not give a young man information because you were sort of insecure, right? And then if you weren't able to play and they needed him and he wasn't ready because you were selfish.
Did you have a good relationship with Bo Jackson?
Let me tell you, Bo will tell you today. I think I have a picture of he and I sitting on the sidelines together, right? I gave him, not only Bo, I gave Eric Dickerson, I gave Roger Craig everything they needed to succeed. I did not hold back because I was competing against them. So
See, that's why you've
that's leadership that you need.
yeah, and you've had such a glorious career, and it worked out so well in Kansas City. I'd like to ask you before we go, what is Honey Badger doing with your number?
I don't know. I don't know if they ever are going to retire or not. But hey, listen here, I like the way he plays. Right. I really do. He's a ball hawk. You know, if the ball's in the air too, he'll try to take it. He'll get an interception, try to take it the distance and stuff. And he makes a lot of plays defensively, makes a lot of tackles and stuff. But going back just real quickly before we go, the greatest indicator that I did the right thing with all those guys is we're friends. And if I didn't do the right thing, there's no way you can be friends with guys who obviously did not give you information when you needed it on the field to play. So, but we're all good friends. So that's a great indicator.
Tell me how you see this Super Bowl.
Well, I still give the nod to the Chiefs, and unless somebody knocks them off, they're the defending champion, and they just look so good. They have so many weapons, and you got two quarterbacks, one that will, may arguably be the greatest ever, and I always, because I played with Joe Montana and I love Joe, but Tom, obviously, with the amount of Super Bowl he's been in and the amount that he's won, obviously. But then you've got this young man, Patrick Mahomes, it's just uncanny. I mean, the angles, he throws the ball from every angle better than most people throw from one. Underhanded, sidearm, everything,
Yeah, the shovel pass.
He does it all. And then he has this real gunslinger mentality that I really like. You know what I mean? It's he's just fearless. If he throws a pick, he just like all great players as they should have a he has a short memory, because he comes back and he'll fire it again next time, and he'll be successful. So, but I'm gonna give it to the Chiefs. One, because I'm always pulling for them anyway. But just being pragmatic, just using common sense too.
I don't know. People have lost a lot of money not betting on Tom.
Yeah. No question about it. No question about it. But
plus that defense.
They have a great defense. But listen here, not until somebody stops them will I give you just got to give the nod to the Chiefs. They have so many weapons. They got the fastest player in the league. They got the best, one could say the best tight end in the league. They're running ball.
Tell that to Gronkowski.
Huh?
Don't say that Kelsey is. Don't tell that to Gronkowski.
Well, listen here. Gronk had his day, but you can't. Come on. We all have to sort of acknowledge. I always say he may be the latest. All right. As it relates to other running backs, I would always say, if somebody brought that to my attention, I would always say, well, he may be the latest, but he's not the greatest.
That's you are a Hall of Famer on and off the field. You always have been. And I want to thank you so much for this, Marcus. I know everybody's pulling at you for your time, but I love anytime I can talk to you.
Oh, come on, Lesley. We're not colleagues. We're family.
I do feel that way. And the funny thing is, and then tomorrow, I know, somebody asked me this the other day, and we've never talked about this. Someone asked me if I could be at any sporting event in history, whether or not it was during my lifetime, but if I could have been witness to any sporting event in history, do you have a thought right away, or I'll tell you mine?
Oh, go. You tell me yours first.
Okay, I had two of them. One would be when Billie Jean beat Bobby Riggs, because I think it was the seminal moment of the women's movement. Gender equity, financial equity, it was societal. But then I guess if I could just have anyone outside what Billie Jean meant to me personally, I think I would have wanted to have been at the Berlin Olympics when Jesse Owens won all those medals.
Yeah, that was, yeah, if you can be a fly on the wall or a fly in the stadium, that would be pretty interesting to be there. Oh, wow. I mean, that is sort of, well, you had plenty of time to think about that one. That's a tough one because I have so many
Yes,
sort of great
and you know
moments.
what? That's
Wait,
gonna
wait,
be our
wait, wait,
next-
wait. I got it. I
You
got
got
it.
one? Okay.
All right. The Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what?
If
That's
I
great.
was on ringside right there,
Yeah.
because in reality we could not afford growing up, seeing it on closed circuit. There's just too many family members and stuff like that, right? So I listened to it on radio, and I mean I was vicariously. I was boxing through Muhammad Ali, right? I was doing everything that he was doing. I was laying on the ropes. I was rope dope, and I was doing everything. I loved him so much. So
he was one of those people that, I'm sure you did too. We got to meet him a few times. And I always said you could feel Muhammad Ali in the room before you saw him.
yes, he had presence. There's a lot of people that have presence you can sort of feel, and I mean there's something sort of resonated in the room that's special. But he was the greatest. He really was.
Well, okay, next time we're going to continue that thought.
Hey, wait, you got to tell people why we're family though.
We go all the way back to Ed Hookstratton.
Ed Hookstratton, and I miss Ed.
Right. The great Ed Hookstratton.
Yeah, he represented us, so that's
When he was like Johnny Carson's lawyer, like wasn't he happeningest guy in LA?
I mean, who did he had? He had Brokaw, he had Brian Gumble, Vince Scully. I mean, he had everybody and stuff. So
did you ever play
pretty
tennis
nice roster?
I don't know if you ever played tennis with him, but remember he was a pitcher at SC, a lefty pitcher.
Yeah, well, let me tell you what, he always put a lot of topspin on the ball. It had a lot of junk. That's what he did.
All right, we have so much to cover in our next thing too. Thank you, Marcus, and
my pleasure.
I love you.
Same here.
Thank you for watching to everyone, and we'll have lots more on the Pick 6 feed from the Super Bowl week. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you all.